The Miami Dolphins are the team for today, and I feel like I kind of know their fight song. Like I feel like that's a part of it. Do you know what it is?
I just know that their hashtag is fins up.
Yeah, yeah. You're right about that. You're definitely right about that. Um, Lead us in today because I had us last episode.
All right. For the Dolphins, I think the first thing you have to touch on for the Dolphins is Brian Flores. Second year head coach for them. He is a very smart guy, especially when it comes to the defense. He maximizes the talent that is on that side of the ball and gets the most of it. D line and secondary. Uh, The AFC East is just stacked now with Salah at the Jets. It's just stacked with defensive minds. So, I mean, it's going to be defensive battles year in and year out in the AFC East for years to come. But saying that Brian Flores is smart when it comes to that is great, and he's also smart with the guys that he designates play calling. Him benching Tua throughout the season, though, to get Ryan Fitzpatrick in there to win them games is one of the dumbest things ever, ever. Just if you have a young quarterback and you want him to develop, give him those opportunities to learn and to win you games, to try to drive down the field, run the 2 minute drill, and try to win the game. You're not doing anything but stunting his growth and stunting the growth of your team by putting in a 30-something-year-old veteran to go out there and do it for him. I never got it when they did it during the season, and it really looked like it screwed up their plans come week 17 against the Bills because they didn't have anyone to take Tua out of the game and put in there for him when he started playing poorly. It just seemed like their plan was let's get the most out of Tua while we can, but if he starts to fall off, we got to put Fitzy in there because we know that he'll show out if we need him to late in the game. Uh,
I don't
what do you gotta say?
I don't want to complain about it too much. I don't think it's that bad, but I think when you're a playoff team, you should play with the best quarterback on the field at all times. And they should have been a playoff team, and Fitzpatrick should have been on the field the entire season.
Yeah, see, they should have gone one of two ways. Either you want Tua to play, so you just play him out, and whatever record you got is the record you got. Or you want to make the playoffs, and you have Tua sit the bench and develop, and you just have Fitzy out there. You can't. They were going halfway with it, and it doesn't make any sense to me with them doing that.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty willing to be like, hey, take a risk here or something like that for most teams.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of that situation, I don't know why. I'm never really gonna get terribly like deeply in love with a two quarterback system ever.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people can realize who a better player is. At least in that situation, and in most situations, still you can at least make a decision, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't love two quarterback systems at all.
Yeah, it just shows the indecisiveness in that team, but hopefully they won't be as indecisive this upcoming season with Tua being there, but they brought in Jacoby Brissett, so who knows? Um, the run game was not sustainable at all, and us being Bills fans and saying that's kind of a joke because neither was the Bills, but the Bills were winning games just by throwing the ball, and other teams do that too. They can just abandon the run game completely and throw the ball. The
Yeah.
Dolphins, it's like you can't really do either. Like you have to have a solid run game, and they were throwing anything at the wall and seeing what sticks, and like it just wasn't working. Jordan Howard led the team in rushing touchdowns, and they cut him week 10. Like it's just very confusing. I know that all of his carries came inside the 5 though, so
I would be much more okay with you making that argument if you didn't come to me crying in the middle of the season when we had one bad week throwing the ball and said, "Oh no, we can't run the ball.
when
We're
was that?
so
Week
hurt."
5? Week 5 at the start of the season before it
Listen,
was proven that they could just completely abandon it.
you're right, but guess what? From the start of the season, I was saying air it out. So I think
Okay.
I think I think it still turned out in my favor. That's what I'll say. But yeah, no. When two is your quarterback, I don't like that as much. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
Run the ball a bit. I mean, even with him, like I don't care how you do it, but get a little bit of a run game. Yeah. Uh, I definitely have to say that I do not like how little they run the ball because they're a team that should be trying to run the ball more.
Hmm. Uh, Finishing up what I got here, like I said, Flores gets solid production from his defense, especially on that D line. There were sacks aplenty for every guy. This isn't much of what happened last season, but what happened going on this offseason, we don't really cover much of what went on offseason besides free agent gains and losses, but I just had to mention it here because we'll definitely get to it. But they lost or just got rid of so much of their 2020 free agency, whether that be during the actual 2020 season, letting guys walk in the offseason, or trading guys. It was insane. Mike Gesicki is forever underrated and underutilized on that team, and until they start throwing him the ball 15 times a game, he just will
15,
be
15 times a
tight
game.
end number 4. He'll forever be tight end number 4.
15 times a game. Dang. I'm going to be excited to
I
see.
mean, Chan Gailey's not their offensive coordinator anymore, right?
I don't know. I don't really care.
Chan Gailey could just run tight end screens the whole game then instead of screens to the running back, and it will work.
Okay. Okay.
And then my last note is Jason Sanders is a stud, one of the best kickers in the NFL, probably number 2 after Tucker.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Here's what I got for their season. The first thing I gotta say is Tua's opening quarter was not terribly impressive at all, and that's basically how it felt the entire time I was watching him. I can't believe Preston Williams doesn't get used more, but he missed half the year, so I guess that's kind of maybe why. The defense plays tremendously as a group. It's kind of hard to pick out a lot of guys on this defense that I want to talk like a lot about, except there's one guy specifically, but the rest, it just feels like a group effort that's absolutely insane. The Rams game is they're a great team win. They have a great team win in that game, but I mean, Tua's lame, and that's his first start, so that's what I gotta say there. Tua's first 2 scores and first 2 starts, the defense scores for the Dolphins, like 2 scoop and score fumbles, and then actually in his third start, the Cardinals fumble immediately at the start of the game too, but they don't return it for a touchdown. But they do pick up a loose ball and bring it in for a score. Uh, yeah, I will say he does actually go through his reads on play, which is pretty good. Like you can actually see him progressing through the play, which is pretty good. And then what kind of annoyed me in the Cardinals game that happened is Kyler Murray, not a Tua complaint here. Kyler Murray would throw a ball like 30 yards out of bounds, and DeAndre Hopkins drew 2 defensive PI calls when the ball was not even close to him, and I was just like, that's so stupid. Don't throw the flag there, ref. And then Xavier Howard's the one guy that I want to actually talk about on the defensive side of the ball because he's insane. But really, it is hard to pick out specific guys on this team because they play well together, which is a testament to coaching, I think. And I should take more of a note on how much Gesicki lines up split out as opposed to just as a tight end. And of course, the cornerback room is entirely loaded. Like the entirety of the CB. Like there's not a cornerback for at least 4 guys that I would be sad to have on my team with that roster.
What do you got for stats?
Oh, okay. So stats wise, Tua had 9 starts for 1,814 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 64.1 completion percentage. I gotta say, I looked at all those and I said, yep, none of these are surprising at all. So that didn't feel like any much of a shocker to me. The run game was better than 2 years ago, being the 2019 season, but still, no guy took over, and it's still rough, like we mentioned before. Devontae Parker had 63 catches for 793 yards and 4 touchdowns. Gesicki, 53 catches, 703 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jakeem Grant is still great, or is great in the return game, if you don't know. And it's actually nice that they're one of the teams that actually puts a threatening, speedy guy
athlete back to return kicks.
Yes, that's nice to see. Jason Sanders was great, as you say. Then here's a fun little comparison for Xavier Howard with me just mentioning how impressed I am with him. Getting double-digit interceptions in the league nowadays is just absolutely insane because, I mean, the guys that used to do it in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like it's because when the quarterback dropped back, he wasn't reading the defense. It was coach said to throw the ball here. At least especially in the older days. Maybe not once they got to the 70s, advanced a little bit, but that's how those guys would clean up on interceptions. Getting double-digit picks nowadays is wild. He also had 20 passes defended, which is absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly like a defensive player of the year type performance, but we just need to hand Aaron Donald the award for literally just being birthed. So just as comparison, for 2019 defensive player of the year, Stephon Gilmore, not any comment on Stephon Gilmore besides his stats. He had 6 interceptions and 20 passes defended. So same amount of passes defended plus 4 interceptions. I don't know how he can't win the award. That's an insane year. He should have gotten it. If I got a vote, I would have given it to him. Eric Rowe had 11 passes defended. So actually they had 2 cornerbacks with double-digit passes defended. Some teams don't even have guys that get to like 5, and sometimes they're led by defensive ends. That's amazing production from the cornerback room. Emmanuel Ogbah and Andrew Van Ginkel both had 3 forced fumbles. Ogbah had 9 sacks. Jerome Baker had 7. Baker also had 112 tackles, which is really good while having 7 sacks. It's a really interesting combination from him. He had a really good year. He also had 7 tackles for loss. And Eric Rowe had 91 tackles too. Zach Sealer, 11 tackles for loss. I mentioned this because he led the team in tackles for loss, and also I'm not afraid to say this, but I think it's funny. I've never heard of him. So, good job, Zach Sealer. Kyle Van Noy also had 10 tackles for loss, and that's what I got for stats.
All right, yeah, you covered everything I had. That's why I always let you go first, because you cover what I have and more. Moving to free agency for them, they had some decent pickups that I knew about. I just forgot, and going through and looking at their pickups again, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, bringing in Justin Coleman and making their cornerback room that is already filled to the gills even more, is
you came
insane.
up with that one a while ago. You've been thinking about that for hours. I can tell.
Yeah. But bringing in Justin Coleman's insane. As I mentioned before, they bring in Jacoby Brissett so they can have another fourth quarter quarterback if they need one. Will Fuller is probably the biggest pickup for them this season, even though, I mean, they just love their wide receivers that run fast. It's great. Jason McCourty, Michael Pilardi, DJ Fluker, and Matt Skura on the offensive line too. Also, did you see that Bobby Foster went there too? So I don't know what they're scheming up there, but if they just have 5 wide and say, all right, just run to the end zone and we're going to hope Tua can chuck it there, I would love that. Every single play. Just get 5 fast guys out there and run deep.
Yes, I agree. I don't know. I didn't like see Tua load up terribly often and go long.
Oh, no. Yeah. That's why it's a great plan. Just because it'd be hilarious.
I got 3 guys that maybe you didn't mention. Once again, it's hard to like track all of them, or maybe 4. Malcolm Brown, Michael Pilardi, DJ Fluker, Adam Butler. I don't know if you hit those names. Sorry if you did. Sorry if you didn't. But yeah, I'll go through and just say I kind of feel like I have notes for like all these guys. Yeah, it's really interesting because Jakeem Grant is like the only receiver that was on the team last season that was really like a speed, like just a straight speed guy for me. And then they're like, we need 1 big speed guy in free agency and 1 big speed guy in the draft. So we get Will Fuller for that. Adam Butler, Matt Skura, DJ Fluker, just in like, linemen. I don't know. I don't have like a terribly deep insight on linemen, so I'll leave that for what it is. Michael Pilardi, they needed to replace Matt Hawk, who I think played fairly well for them, actually. So I think Pilardi will kind of have a decent shoe to fill, per se. Malcolm Brown is interesting only because, I'm interested to see what the Rams do since he's gone. They've actually got to let Darrell Henderson finally get in the game, which I've been waiting for a while. So I'm excited to see that. Then for the other guys that you mentioned, I don't actually have anything to say on Robert Foster, but I mean, he's still alive, so that's cool.
He's still in the league.
Jacoby Brissett, yes. I pray that they aren't planning to do the Fitzpatrick role this season. I pray that they're actually, planning to have a single quarterback that is, the young guy and not Jacoby Brissett. If they walk out there week 1 and Jacoby Brissett's their starter, I don't even know what... they may be a better team, though. That's the thing. So it's weird, but they may be a better team. And then as for Justin Coleman, yes, it's wild to add to this cornerback room, but it's actually really funny because I remember like 2 years ago, like thinking like after the season was over, like this guy may be like the best nickel corner in the league, and then for whatever reason, kind of faded out. But yeah, I just remember thinking that at the time.
Yeah, that tends to happen to guys in Detroit. So I don't blame him too much for just fading out of the public consciousness. Uh, for their losses, I mean, some very substantial losses that they took on this offseason. Granted, they did do their best to replace him. Kyle Van Noy's the big one. They just released him 1 year into a 4-year deal. Release him, and then he heads back to New England. Which, wild, wild.
I don't know.
They Ted Karras, he goes to New England too. Matt Breida stays in the division and goes to the Bills. They trade Shaq Lawson to Houston. Trade Eric Flowers to the football team. Ryan Fitzpatrick goes to the football team. Bobby McCain's gone. You got anyone else?
Not really. Devon Godshaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, just some solid players on their team, like especially Van Noy and Karras, just two staples of the defense and offense there. Let them walk. I think Karras was commanding a very high price tag, which makes sense. He goes to New England. They were just handing out bags this offseason. But Van Noy, that's a head scratcher.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. We'd have to dig into the team a lot deeper to probably understand that. I feel like we do a decent job looking into these teams. I mean, we do at least an hour of research ahead of time, at least. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to go all 22 for all 16 games last season just to figure out why Kyle Van Noy got released.
Yeah, just to see like in week 14 he had a bad week, and then Flores was like, I need 16 games of production here, Kyle, and you're only giving me 15. I can't.
That's
I can't
not
work
what
with
we
that.
were paying for you for.
Yeah, we're paying for 4 years of 16 regular season games, and now they're going to 17. So 2 bad games. Oh, see, this is why I said Brian Flores is smart. He's ahead of the 8 ball in this one.
I agree entirely. Bring us into the draft.
Oh, their draft. I mean, I kind of like what they did with their draft. Not really a fan of their first round pick, just because they got a guy very similar to him in free agency and Will Fuller. But Jalen Waddle, I mean, dude is fast. He is fast. I know he brings more to the table than Will Fuller does, but as of right now in his rookie season, he's going to be on the same level as Will Fuller until, eventually he grows as a player. Jalen Phillips, I think you and I were both high on him pre-draft. He's very lanky, long edge rusher that gets to the quarterback and just takes guys to town. One problem with him is just his concussion issues that he had at UCLA before he transferred to Miami. Hopefully that's not an issue at the next level, because that could really hamper his career. But very, very solid edge rusher from Miami going to Miami. Javon Holland is he was one of the first 2 safeties off the board that were not Trayvon Moehrig, so I mean, it made me smile seeing Moehrig not be the first one. But Javon Holland hits hard and he has big plays. He's a turnover machine. It just seemed like a lot of the picks that he got were thrown straight at him, though. And I mean, there is something to be said when about guys that are just tractor beams for the ball. It's not usually something.
Are you sure you're not like misremembering? Because I thought he didn't have that many interceptions.
No, maybe not statistically, but on tape, he just is getting like interceptions wide open in the deep middle of the field.
I remember the wide open interceptions. I don't remember him having like a terribly, like you said, turnover machine. Like he's not one of the guys that I'm remembering like having a ton of interceptions, even if it was like thrown right to him. I just don't remember that. I feel like there were 2 guys from Oregon and he actually had less than the other guy.
Who, Brady Breeze?
No, a corner actually. I think
in his 2 years before the opt out, he had 5 his freshman season and then 4 his sophomore season. Okay. And then he opted out his junior year.
Okay. Oh, maybe I'm. Oh, okay. I'm probably crossing. I think Thomas Graham is the other guy. He
Mm,
probably didn't have as many interceptions. So my
yeah.
bad.
But he's a turnover machine and has some hard hits. A lot that Brian Flores can work with there, especially with how well he coaches up secondary guys, like you said, with Xavier Howard and a bunch of other guys there too. Liam Eichenberg is probably going to be a starting tackle on that team. Just you need to protect Tua if you view him as your franchise quarterback. No matter, even if you don't view Tua as your franchise quarterback, and you want to bring in someone else next season, you don't want to kill a rookie's confidence by having him get murdered. So protect whoever you have under center in the years to come with Liam Eichenberg. I thought he could have gone in the first round when I was looking at him pre-draft. He's a solid starter. Hunter Long is a guy that you were higher on than I was. I think I had him at 10 for tight ends, and you had him up in your top 3 or 4. I thought of him as very cookie cutter for a tight end, especially going to the Dolphins now with Gesicki, who is just such an immense talent. It's I mean, he could complement him very well. He's going to be that safety blanket guy of I'm going to sit in the flat, I'm going to get open, I'm going to get you 5-6 yards after the catch. I don't know. I think they could have definitely used the pick differently here and not gone tight end. One of the few teams in the league that don't need to go tight end because they have one of the best in the league on their team. And then their 2 7th round picks, they get more O line depth with a Larnell Coleman, and they have to take a running back just because of how poor the run game was. So they feel obligated to have to take a running back in the 7th, even though it just you have to, or else the fans are going to get mad. So they get Jared Dokes, who seems more like a receiver than a running back. Most of his highlights were just him catching the ball. So very
Yeah.
interesting with what they're going to do here.
Yeah. So obviously the Dolphins in round one. Now that I'm spinning back, my turn, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
the Dolphins make a nice move here in realizing they're going to be forced to take a wide receiver, so they just get it out of the way. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
get. Yeah. Now, the only question for Jalen Waddle really is he going to be the next Tyreek Hill? Because you watch the college film and it's like, holy crap, this guy's insane. Really in the open field, like catching like short passes and just being able to make something out of seemingly nothing is not really, especially in the manner he does it, is not really an attribute that I would be able to give to anybody except for Tyreek Hill. The thing that makes you nervous about this pick is thinking about guys like John Ross who come before him that are just like pure speed guys. But I really think that he's more than that. His production was insane at Alabama, and just watching him, he doesn't feel like another speed guy. However, if I was going to take a receiver this high, I would have been much more likely to select Chase or Devontae Smith just because there's no thought of those players turning into somebody like John Ross. I feel like those guys are almost guarantees, at least from my own perspective. Whereas
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, I just have that fear in the back of my mind for whatever reason. However, I think he's very talented. Now the question is just, can Tua get him the ball? Jalen Phillips was one of my favorite pass rushers. Yeah, he was a part of that group that was like, I can't even remember what ranking list I was doing when I was trying to figure out these guys, but of course they have like, I just went based off the site's list of like defensive tackles or defensive linemen versus edge players. And he was one of those guys that was labeled as a defensive lineman for absolutely no reason. So yeah, he could have potentially been my number one edge player because I really did like him, but he just fell into the D line category for whatever reason. But yeah, I really wish that the Bills could swap their Miami pass rusher out for this one. The only issue is the concussion concerns, obviously. Javon Holland, so maybe I'm misremembering this and maybe you're just gonna, I don't know. From what I remember, I just thought he was kind of a little overrated. It probably was because of when he got most of his interceptions. It was just balls thrown right to him. But I don't think he's bad. I just think they took him a little bit too early. Could have waited a little bit longer on him. And I mean, but I will say, like you said, much happier to see him come off the board than Trevon Moehrig. Liam Eichenberg, bolster the O-line. That's good because I thought they should bolster the O-line. Hunter Long. Sometimes I make comps and then I forget about them immediately. For whatever reason, this is one of the guys that I actually can't get out of my mind who I comped him to because it just felt like so accurate, that was Jason Witten. And I didn't think they necessarily needed a tight end too, but when I actually watched them play, I didn't realize how often, like I mentioned earlier, I tried to make this kind of clear so that you'd pick up on it. They do split out Gesicki a lot. And you want to talk about Brian Flores coming from New England, even though he's a defensive coach, maybe he's just in the ear of the offensive minds and saying, "Hey, we should really try to get like two tight ends on the field. That's an advantage." And even if not, it creates some messy situations, especially if you still want to line up Gesicki, not necessarily all the way out wide, but even in the slot like they do with him sometimes. You say, oh, they've got a 20, or sorry, two backs, one tight end, or whatever. They got like 12 personnel in the game or something. And then they go, oh, okay, this is kind of a heavier set, and then they split one of them out. It kind of changes the numbers game, right? So that would be kind of annoying because it just creates more mismatches. And if they actually use Hunter Long as like the guy with his hand in the dirt, while Gesicki actually gets to move out wide more, almost like we're questioning with Kyle Pitts what is necessarily going to go on with him, I think it actually could be a really good move, especially because I like Hunter Long. Larnell Coleman, same thing as before. I thought they should bolster the O-line, so I'm not going to complain about that. And Garrett Doakes, exactly what you said. Good hands, balanced back, doesn't feel like he does much more than the line provides, but that's what you're going to get when you get a 7th-round RB. Sometimes you find a diamond in the rough. I don't think it's him. And then as for UDFAs, the two interesting guys, I'm pretty sure they were lining Patrick Laird up at fullback when they needed to last season, so they picked up a fullback as an undrafted free agent, and also they got a former basketball player in a guy named Jabri Blunt, who's going to be trying out as a tight end, I guess.
Awesome. You'll love to see it. You'll love to see non-football players play football.
That's why I bringed it up. That's why I brought it up. I'm sorry. Actually, and sorry, this team just interests me so much that I actually threw in a few notes before we get to their schedule. You will start out with your schedule thing, but I do have a few more notes that I just kind of wanted to throw in here. Tua. In games where Tua and the offense he was commanding was the only group to score touchdowns, so that means I'm removing the game where Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and won it for Tua. I'm removing 2 games where the defense scored touchdowns for Tua. Tua only has 3 wins, and they're against a generally awful football team in Cincinnati, a team that had like no like real talent, just was coached well in New England, and a team who is coached atrociously in the Los Angeles Chargers. Those are Tua's only 3 wins where you can kind of say they're actually his. That doesn't like make me too confident. I like the team, but Tua was disappointing and he lacked excitement. I like to bring up this excitement thing because even with guys who didn't have terribly incredible rookie years, like Josh Allen, you remember that guy who's pretty good right now? The pretty cool thing about Josh Allen is that even when he was playing poorly, there was an excitement level there. Like, he's hurdling Anthony Barr, or you want to talk about Mahomes in his first year, being able to chuck the ball down the field. You see the flash. Lamar, even, in his rookie year. Some of the runs he had in his rookie year, where it's actually funny. He's really, even though we say, like, the lack of the passing game in the Ravens offense is an issue, you like go back and look at his rookie year. There's almost like nothing in the passing game until you get to that end of that playoff game against the Chargers, if I'm remembering correctly. But there was flash there with his running ability. Tua, in his first, I guess, 9 starts, I didn't see that flash at all. Like, there was nothing that crazily excited me or anything like that, and I just don't know how he's going to turn into a superstar if over the course of 9 games I can't even see like 1 or 2 plays that make me just like jaw drop. like make my jaw drop. It just didn't happen at all. And that's kind of scary for this team because the rest of the team's ready. I don't think there's another part of the team that isn't ready, except for probably the run game. The run game isn't too exciting, but the rest of the team's ready, and I don't know if the quarterback is.
Yeah, I mean, even quarterbacks that are deemed like mediocre, just above average, which I mean, if you're taking a quarterback in the first and you're getting a guy that's just above average, that's still like a win. You're getting a solid starter there. But like Baker in his rookie season, he popped off and he showed so much flash. And now he's cooled off, but he's still a solid quarterback. And you kind of just need that flash in the first season to just see like, all right, we need to stick with this guy. I I think that's kind of the reason why the Broncos are still sticking with Drew Lock, kind of, because in his rookie season, he had some moments where it's like, oh, okay, he's capable of doing something. And it's just the Dolphins, the only thing that's making them stick with Tua is just, we got 10 wins. So we'd be kind of the laughing stock of the league if we just got rid of this rookie quarterback after we got 10 wins.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, it doesn't feel like the guy I felt like was coming from Alabama. And maybe that's even more why I at least question like Jalen Waddle. Just because it's like, well, the last Alabama first rounder they had, I thought was going to come out and be great, but he didn't flash. And geez, Jalen Waddle's all about flash. So, I mean, it's scary. They're over-unders 9 wins when you're ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Jalen Waddle did say that Mac Jones is the best quarterback he's ever played with, so.
I like that guy.
All right, starting off the Miami Dolphins schedule for me. They start off at New England. They always get New England at New England for their first week or two, and it sucks for them because it's usually an L, and it's gonna be an L this season because New England's gonna be back. Week 2 home against Buffalo. Josh Allen has had their number every single year he's been in the league. Like he almost has a complete sweep against them if Charles Clay catches a touchdown. It's yeah. You just can't stop it when quarterbacks have your number. I mean, it's tough. But week 3 at Vegas is when they get their first win because Vegas is just, they're rough, especially with that O-line. Brian Flores, that defense is going to have a field day. Week 4, home against Indy. I gave them the win here against Indy. They're home. I think them and Indy are going to be kind of evenly matched. I mean, they got Jacoby Brissett feeding them offensive information right there. So, again, Brian Flores is a genius. He's planning ahead for week 4 already by bringing in Jacoby Brissett. And then at Tampa Bay, yikes. That's going to be a hard L for them. But then they take on the third Florida team in Jacksonville after that. They get a win. So they're the second best team in Florida. Home against Atlanta. I think Miami and Atlanta are going to be very similar teams as well. Atlanta has a better quarterback and they have more offensive firepower, I think. Now, Miami could just go to town on their weak defense, on Atlanta's weak defense, and Miami has a stronger defense than Atlanta does. So there's kind of that. I don't know. I just gave the edge because you know what you're getting in Matt Ryan, and at this point in the season, you don't even know if Tua is still going to be starting all 4 quarters. So
I'll fight against that a little bit. I think they're going to be hesitant. I think they would be very hesitant to yank him fully.
That was me. Yeah, that was me making a joke, but just that Brian Flores is definitely going to have a lot of reserve to pull him this season because he will be scrutinized very, very harshly if he starts pulling Tua again.
I do like your offensive comparison though. I think your offensive comparison is right, but yeah, I think the just look at the defense compared to each other. I think you got to give it to Miami.
I gave Atlanta the win here.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. At Buffalo, that's an L. Just again, Josh Allen has their number. Home against Houston, that's an easy win for them. Home against Baltimore, that's an L. Baltimore's just a better team. At the Jets, I think they split it. I think they split it with the Jets. I think they split. The Jets have to win games. They split it with the Jets. Uh, so they take an L at New York. Home against Carolina, they bounce back and get 2 W's here. Home against Carolina, home against the Giants. Then they head into their bye week. They have a really late bye week. Home against the Jets, W, and then yikes, they run through the gauntlet here at the end with a saving grace, week 18. But at New Orleans, who's going to have it figured out at that point in the season. At Tennessee, who has Julio now, which their secondary's good, but AJ Brown and Julio, that's it's just no one's built to stop that. I mean, we'll see. We'll see next season, well, when that happens. But and then week 18, New England at Miami. They always win that game for some reason. They always win late season games at home against New England, so they get that win, and they finish up 8-9 for me.
Wow. Really? Okay. I'll forget to say it if I don't say it now. We're gonna have really similar records, but yeah, no, it's just funny. You got there in like a completely different way than I get there.
Okay.
Yeah. So week 1 at New England, I think luck is on New England's side in that they're gonna have so many new pieces that even though I think Cam's gonna be starting in this game, which I don't think is better for the team. I think they have advantages with so many other new guys coming in that will allow New England to win this game. Week 2 against the Bills, I think, once again, just as you said, Josh Allen has pretty much had their number. And when you talk about like the roster we have, I'm hesitant to give Miami the advantage in a game against the Bills until they show me that Josh Allen won't have their number. So I'm gonna say 2 L's against Buffalo, even before we get to the second game. At Las Vegas, yeah, the Raiders bad. They're no W for Miami. They're a better team. The Colts, the Colts game was kind of a really hard one for me to pick for whatever reason. I don't know why. I just look at it and I'm like, ooh, it's interesting. They're kind of similar in teams that they're right there, but there's like kind of missing pieces. So I gave them a toss up, but yeah. Buccaneers, once again, Super Bowl champ. They have no holes. Miami still has some holes, even though it's not too many. L, especially because you're going there. Then they got their London game against Jacksonville. They're a better roster than Jacksonville, so I'll give them the win there. Atlanta, I think they're a better roster than Atlanta as well. The offenses are kind of similar, though, in the fact that they got like a rookie receiving threat. One guy who's kind of been there for a while in kind of that role is Devontae Parker and what's his face? Calvin Ridley. Yeah. And I mean, but the Dolphins have more weapons, and I don't think that the run game is going to be too big of a deal for either of these teams. And then when it comes to the fact that I actually think the Dolphins could slow down the Falcons because the Dolphins actually have a defense, that helps them a lot. The only thing is Tua may bring them down a level, but I don't think it'll be too bad. The defense is just so much better for Miami than Atlanta, even if the quarterback play is weaker for Miami. So W for Miami there. Then Buffalo again, like I said, that's going to be an L. Then here we've got Baltimore here. That's an L, but right before that they play Houston. That's a W. They got Baltimore on a short week. I don't know. Maybe this could be a surprising game for us because it's a short week and they're the home team. Baltimore's got to come to Miami pretty quickly. Maybe it could be a spot for a shocker. And honestly, if it is, then this is going to be a really good stretch for Miami coming off of Halloween because they go Houston, W. I mean, there's the potential against Baltimore, but I'm going to give them the L just because Baltimore should be the better team. But then after that, I mean, 3 games against New York teams. I really don't like either of the New York teams. I think I've made that very clear. And Carolina isn't an insane threat. They've got talent, but I mean, a lot of teams we talk about now, I just feel have better overall rosters than Carolina. So W against New York Jets, W against Carolina, W against the New York Giants, bye week, and then W against the New York Jets. So with what I have, that's a 4-game winning streak. I'm saying there's some potential there for it to be like a 6-game win streak. And if they're on a 6-game win streak, geez, this Monday night game against New Orleans probably looks pretty exciting. I mean, that's a good headline, right? I mean, even if they're on a 4-game win streak, it's a pretty exciting headline. With where I think I have them at, would be roughly like 8-6 or so, maybe a little higher, maybe a game higher, game lower right now. But going into this game at New Orleans would probably be pretty exciting. Like you said, though, I think New Orleans has it figured out by this point, and if they have it figured out, they're going to be firing on all cylinders. They're the home team. Man, when New Orleans is the home team in primetime, it feels like they're on a different level. Not necessarily in the playoffs, but for some reason, you put New Orleans on Monday, Sunday, or Thursday Night Football, and they're the home team. I don't know why. They just play like out of their minds. And then Tennessee. I really like Tennessee. Julio makes it better, obviously. So I'm going to take Tennessee still here. I guess they could have a chance in this game just because the defense is really the strong suit of the team. And the thing is that you've kind of got like the good sides of each team fighting the bad sides of each team, which is always kind of an interesting element. But I just don't think they'll be able to hold the Titans back that much. And against New England, again, I think mac and cheese, as Cam Newton would say, will be starting at this point. And,
Terrible nickname.
Dude,
Terrible nickname.
Cam Newton thinks about nicknames for about 3 seconds because at some point in his life he decided that every person he meets needs to have a nickname, which is just stupid. It's like, no, you can call them by their name. It's okay. But yeah.
Mac is already a nickname.
Yeah, but not to Cam. But yeah, I think Mac will be playing at this point, and I like the Patriots as a team. I like them more if Mac Jones is playing. And actually, with that means that I gave them 8 wins, 8 losses, and 1 toss-up game. The toss-up game should have a tiebreaker, but I realized that I haven't put a tie-in for any team yet. So I'm going to make that Colts game be my prediction for 1 tie this season is Miami against Indianapolis. I'll go with an 8-1 record. And I think the Patriots are going to be a lot better this year. And I just think that a lot of this team's like record actually comes down to divisional games. The fact that they're going to be, in my prediction at least, they're going to be 2-4 in the division really hurts them. If they could go 4-2 in the division, pick up that Colts game too, then they're looking at 11-6, which is definitely a lot better for the wild card spot I think they'll be hoping for. I don't feel like they're gonna win the division, so I think they really need to do well within the division to get a wild card berth, even though they're not trying to win the division. The division games I think are where it's most important. And obviously, 8-1 is not too far off 9 wins, so I don't feel confident placing a bet on this.
Yeah. My one note that I had for their season is their season will either be defined by close wins or close losses. Because I think that's every single one of these games, they have the potential to be competitive. Well, I mean, maybe except the Tampa Bay game. They have the potential to be competitive in almost every single one of these games. And if it's a close loss, then yeah, it's gonna really hurt, and their record might even be worse than mediocre 8-9, 8-1, something like that. But if they get close wins, they could have like far into double digit wins just by like sneaking in, winning by a field goal or something.
Yeah, the thing that's interesting is when you have a defense like theirs that's coached well and creates turnovers. I don't even think the Tampa Bay game is out of the question. If you catch Brady on a bad week, I mean, maybe it's not actually the Dolphins playing the Patriots in Florida that's the weird game. Maybe it's the Dolphins playing Brady in Florida that's the weird game. and
Yeah.
and that's the one that shocks us. That could be it. He could have like 3 turnovers on the day, and I could see it pulling in the Dolphins' favor. And like I said, I could see that any game because, I mean, there were 2 games that Tua 6-3 in his starts. One of them was pulled through by Fitzpatrick, so almost like just cut that game out, call it 5-3 in 8 games. But two of those wins also came with defensive scores. That's kind of important, and besides that, just in general, solid defensive play that helps a lot.
Yeah, I mean, as a quarterback, there's nothing you could do about defensive scores. I mean, you take them when you get them, but it just shows like he needs a little oomph to win games. I mean, every quarterback does, but it's just don't overvalue those wins too much when looking at Tua's record.
Don't overvalue only putting up 19 against the Bengals, which is kind of disgusting. I don't know why,
baby.
I don't know why. I just can't get over that. I was like, is Tua gonna be good this season? And then I saw him put up 19 against the Bengals, and I was like, I think it was 19. I may be like a number off or so, but I mean, I was just like, oh, I guess not. And that's kind of how I felt at the end of the season.
Same game Brian Flores tried to fight a player, didn't he? Tried to fight someone on the Bengals.
I don't know.
Just have Brian Flores be quarterback. Bring back the era of the player coach.
Yeah. Good call. You all set?
Yeah, I think we can cut this here.